Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Indeed, my talk is going to be about hyper-personalization and data, and what do customers actually want. So I would like to start by saying, who am I to claim that I know what clients want? But at everyoneINVESTED, we at least give it a try, and I will try to bring across in those 10 minutes a number of use cases and insights that we have gained along the way, and try to make a point that I think we are on our track to something interesting. So what do clients want? Well, I think I would like to start by claiming or stating the obvious. By sure, clients want to be served digitally. It's like, I guess, as I said, stating the obvious, and it's, I think, the common denominator of what brings us all here, technology and digital servicing. But I'd like to stress that it is not a goal in itself. It's just the means that is at our disposal. And the very good thing about this is that it scales our services, it scales our reach. So how can we make sure that with that possibility and the enablement of technology, how can we address people and our clients in such a way that hopefully, yes, they will feel engaged and they will agree that we are approaching them in a personal way. So at everyoneINVESTED, we like to have a number of KPIs, a number of guidelines that we hold dearly and that we strive for in everything that we do. And it also has the very interesting feature that everybody in the company, in his or her own daily activities, can relate to at least one of them. So it's quite engaging. So let me go briefly through them and tell you a bit what our interpretation is. First of all, it should be easy. If you think about a digital service and the investment space that we are operating in, it should be easy in the sense that there's no advisor there to tap on the shoulder and confirming that the client is making the right choice. We know that if you digitize, for example, the process of getting to a loan or a credit, there's a very high completion rate. Because at the end of the process, people have to get money and receive the money, and they tend to click on consent all the time to get to the end and get to the money. If you talk about investing, again, a bit simply stated, at the end of the process, the people have to confirm that, yes, there will be some savings turned into an investment. And in an advisory context, in a branch or with a call center, there is some kind of encouragement that, yes, you are making the right decision. Here, we are talking about a pure digital setting, and therefore, it should be easy, at least. There's more things coming, but it should also be easy to go through the process. Yes, it should also be personal. Digital does not mean the same service, the same advice, the same communication for everybody. You try to make it personal, but again, you have an algorithm that drives your process. How do you make it personal? So we'll get to that in a second. Third element is that it needs to be valuable. And valuable, of course, in investing, it can refer to returns. But in terms of the process, the valuable element of the process is that for the client and for you as a provider, preferably the process is multi-purpose. You can do multiple things with the same process, and we'll talk about that in a second as well. And then finally, reliable. And that, of course, refers to the stability of the infrastructure, the quality of the underlying methodologies, and so on. I'll spend less time on that just for the sake of time, but we also think that is a very much important must-win battle or KPI in everything we do. And if you then try to summarize that again in some kind of a commercial pitch or a commercial line, I would say, well, the clients want us to wrap this in something which is interesting, brilliant, but not boring. By which I mean we will not automate, and again that's stating the obvious, but the digital process should not be the automated process of what you have experienced for many years in in an advisory context in a branch. So we have to add something to it that makes it easy, personal, valuable, and reliable. And the engine, or the fuel that drives that engine, is crucially data. And I'd like to tell you a little story, so to speak, about the two sides of the coin, which is data. First, very importantly, is how do you get to the data? How do you get data that users or clients allow you to use with their consent? I don't know what each of your personal professional activities, of course, are, but the banks and the financial service providers that we talk to very much crave for data that they can use with client consent. So some of our solutions focus on generating data in such a way that it helps to build this easy, personal, valuable, and reliable services. And there we very much hinge on what we like to call the power of play. So we have a number of solutions, which is basically screen flows, which are playful, I deliberately do not use gamified because talking to supervisory authorities, I know they don't like to use the term game in the context of investing because, of course, it's a serious business. It's not a casino. And one supervisor once told me that an experienced pilot can make a plane crash in a gamified cockpit. And that, for me, resonated. OK, let's, as of now, use playful rather than gamified. So what do we do? For example, we have a screen flow that's based on a scientific method, but that's not, again, a goal in itself. It adds to the credibility that retrieves behavioral data on how people, clients, value and balance risk and reward, how they make certain choices in some kind of artificial settings, artificial, but nevertheless very valuable. And it is what we call a financial personality test. And I'm not going to pitch this solution at all. I just want to point to the fact that it generates data, which is of high quality because it's generated by the clients themselves. It is multi-purpose because the data, yes, they qualify as fitting risk profiling in a compliant way, but they also, the data, serve other purposes. And I think it's very relevant to mention in that context, for example, here in the UK, the recent initiative of the FCA called targeted support. It drives on data-driven client segmentation. So yes, the data that comes out of this 2-minute playful screen flow helps to define in an objective way client segmentation, for example, for the purpose of targeted support. And in mainland Europe, we have something similar called Suitability Light, not yet in place, but announced as part of the upcoming MiFID III. So also there, notions of risk profiling will be applied in non-advisory services. And again, these data can serve that purpose. And finally, also in the context of insurance, IDD, and other kind of regulatory settings, the data have their value. So an important element is how to get data of high quality that you can use with client consent. So this power of play, to our experience, is a very interesting way to engage clients, to get them on the radar. Clients you will probably never meet in a branch or in a live setting, but with the data, you get them on the radar, and the data are multi-purpose. The second side of the data is how do you use them, or what do you use them for? I already hinted on some regulatory requirements, which is obvious. We also, additionally, we like to use what we call the behavioral or the choice design, choice architecture. And there, the common denominator is that how do you optimally use the limited size of a smartphone screen to present an objective fact, but in such a way that it helps the client to feel engaged and possibly to trigger desired behavior. So I don't know if you're familiar with behavioral finance and things like that. It's part of the expertise that I've built up over the years, and it's incredibly powerful to help clients through a process to make it easy, personal, to have high completion rates, if you want to talk in statistics terms, and to ultimately increase the business impact of your digital distribution channels. We have used this, for example, to include in a bank the the simple idea that most of you know, micro-investing linked to the roundup of payments. And there, the simple nudge, if you wish, is not to present this as investment made easy, because some people already have allergic reactions if you use the word investing. But if you frame the same feature as payments made valuable, it's a totally different ballgame. Also, if you want to get budget for such a project. So if you want to hear more about the anecdote about that last statement, happy to elaborate there afterwards. So those are two examples. As I said, how do you get data? The power of play. How do you use the data to improve your digital process? Choice design. We have implemented this, for example, amongst others, also in KBC, Belgium Bank Insurance Group, because it's our mother company. It has contributed to KBC being awarded a number of years in a row as a mobile banking app, the best banking app worldwide, not only because of our contribution, but nevertheless, we were part of that story. And happy to consider talking to you about what it could mean for your organization. If interesting, please come and find me later this afternoon. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a nice event.